that can be.
Cool. Yeah, no worries. All right, everybody, it is 10:02. Happy August. I hope everybody's doing well. I don't know about you guys, but my kids went back to school today, so that's a sign of relief and back to routine. So hopefully everybody else's kids are doing well too, heading back for the next school year. I'll call this meeting to order for the ESInet user group on August 12th, 2026. And sign in, just a reminder, sign in from the link in the chat or in the invite. And Jennifer, do you have anything to add before we head right into the agenda?
I do not.
All right, great. And first thing on the agenda, Tracy, is the tracker.
Yep. Awesome. We will go ahead and look through this one. We have the Network for Performance project. Moving forward on that, I'll have my standard updates for you guys on Friday. We are 70% done with the circuits being delivered. This is 2 circuits per site, as we all know. And then as far as activation and cutovers on sites, we're pretty well current. As soon as the site becomes available, I have been fortunate enough to get that scheduled. So we are going to complete moving the traffic in Aurora on Monday. The circuits have already been activated. They requested we needed to do some additional soak time. So we will be finishing Aurora on the 17th. I have made a request to Colorado State Patrol in San Juan. Not sure if anyone is on from there, but I got word today. Your site is ready, and if you're available, we can cut that one over on the 20th. And I have a couple more that are real close. I know we're doing a next step next week for Estes Park, and then I hope to get activation dates for that one. So really moving forward on that piece of it anyways. If you guys have any questions, you can feel free to let me know. I saw on the agenda, I am going to be sharing, if we have time, the SharePoint, and there is a document on the SharePoint that lists out kind of a current status of where we're at. So that might be helpful too. But so far, that one's moving forward a lot better than it was this time last year. Any questions on that? Okay. New Mexico call transfers. This one kind of needs some help from those PSAPs that border New Mexico. Cortez did complete the testing, and they are now able to take and receive calls across the border with state of New Mexico. I don't have any of the other sites confirming they're ready to go. If you guys recall, just like Nebraska, there is a change that needs to be made to the CPE. And until that change is done, you will not have the ability to transfer any of those calls. The New Mexico sites are ready, so we just need to see what we can do to help get the rest of the Colorado locations done. And we're hoping to, once those get wrapped up, we'll move over to Utah.
Tracy, this is Jennifer.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Sorry, Steve. Now that I'm back from ABCO, I can reach out to those PSAPs and try to facilitate this as well.
Okay. Yeah, that would be great. Like I said, Motorola is ready on the New Mexico side. We just need to get some updates done on our side. I've never done it, but when we did do the project with Nebraska, it really did not take all that much, that much time. And it's usually one test call and we're done.
Sounds great.
If I can help, let me know. ECATs, I think everyone knows we still have a few sites either not wanting to utilize the services or you don't have the correct equipment. So we are proactively reaching out, but just, every 3 to 4 months on that one, simply because, we're not getting responses. Intrado reaches out as well. So if you guys are a location that are not utilizing ECATs yet and you would like to, let me know. I know the Southern Ute has been reaching out, and we're just trying to schedule a time to hop on the phone with Intrado. So that one might wrap up fairly soon. I think the next one is really just kind of that last mile. Tara and Tim will be kind of pushing forward on that one. So I can't remember if they sent out the update for the quarter or if it's coming.
Tracy, this is Jennifer. They did send it out. Tressa and Tim, I see you're both on, and I do have questions on that quarterly update that I sent you yesterday. So if you want to dig through your email and find that, that would be great.
Okay,
Yeah, we did receive that email, and thank you, Jennifer. We're working on getting those responses for you.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think on the GIS tab, that's been moving along, quite well. Carolyn is providing updates. Again, this is a file that's updated on that SharePoint I can share with you guys later, but do we have any GIS questions?
And I can go over my little spiel too,
Sure.
Tracy, if that helps.
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and try to take the screen. So let me see. Give me one second.
Hang on, I think I have to give you
Yeah,
permission.
yeah, you do.
Okay, there's permission, and then let me stop sharing.
Okay. Try again. Here we go. Okay. So the two big ones, I've two bits of information this month. One's great news and one's not so great, but not terrible. The first bit of news is the good news. So we got Aurora and Denver up a little over a week ago. What I'm showing, can you go ahead? Can you see my screen now with the percentages on it?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So the two to go about a week ago were Aurora and Denver. And this report that I ran is over the last week. So we're seeing some very high success rates in Aurora and Denver, which is great news. And if we go ahead and look at our overall percentage now for the state, we're over 60%. So we're at about 62%, which is great. So normally when we do a complete state, if we see ourselves within 60 to 80% as an average, that's great. So we've hit that average without even turning up a significant amount of PSEPs yet. There's still a bunch outstanding here. All these 0% are outstanding. The bit of bad news, but I think it's manageable bad news, is the upgrade that we went to turn up last week. We stopped. The reason for that, so this is the upgrade where we can take a specific PSAP boundary and only allow, amongst a whole bunch of other feature functionality, but the one that concerns Colorado the most is to be able to update a boundary and only route specific call types for that boundary. It's our policy rule function, our PRF function. To say, okay, this boundary example, the Colorado State University Police Department is only going to accept wireline or is only going to accept VoIP and not wireless and the others. That was unsuccessful. We stopped that upgrade. Reason being, from a medium level, is that we are upgrading our system. We're basically skipping an upgrade because we want to get that feature functionality in for Colorado. So we're going from what we call version 16 to version 25. There's a version 20 in between there. And within version 20, it's my understanding that we did some database updates that are needed for 25. And because we were skipping from 16 to 25, those database updates didn't occur and started causing a upgrade issue. So we pulled that back. We're addressing those database concerns, and the new date is end of August, beginning of September, that we should be able to upgrade to 25. So we still have our interim solution in effect. We don't have, for example, these two that it really affects the most, which is the two kind of university areas. We still have that interim solution where we just didn't provision them at all, so it'll fall back to how it worked before, which is ESN-based routing. But that upgrade should occur in the beginning of September, and hopefully I'll have some better news on that on our next call. But overall, we're looking great. We're at 62% roughly for the state, which is great. I think with the remaining, we should get in the 70s. And those are all kind of being scheduled again through Carolyn onesie twosies. But we have most of the big ones up and running now, and we have a great average percentage for the state. So I'm really happy with where it's going. But I'm here for questions if you have them.
Any
Thanks, Rich.
questions for Rich? Yes, we have one question from H. I don't know your first name. I'm sorry.
Hi, sorry, this is Heather.
Hi.
Rich, I have a question on the ECRF routing on the percentages. That's strictly, we're still talking about wireless calls, correct?
Wireless and VoIP calls, yes,
Wireless
correct.
and VoIP. Okay, thank
Yep.
you.
Yeah, for both of those, we acquire that location, that XY information externally. So kind of, prior to this change, we would route the call ESN to the PSAP. The PSAP would do an alley bid and get the XY from, that would come into Alley. Alley would then go query those third-party providers for those VoIP and wireless records, and we get back the XY and provide that to the PSAP. We're doing that pre-query now prior to routing. So anything that was available for VoIP or wireless, we're routing on. Saying that, the next step of this, and we want to keep it top of mind, is to get the road center lines and address points from the PSAPs. Then we can start applying XY GIS routing to wireline. It was always treated as a secondary priority because wireline routing typically does not change, right? An ESN-based static wireline route is just that, static, and ESNs have been a pretty good solution for that. So that's why we always kind of treated it as a secondary priority. But once we get this wrapped up, the initial, we will go back, or will be available to do that routing for wireline as well. And I'd say the biggest piece that affects and why we want to go forward with wireline routing is for other policy-based rules. So when we get to the point where you want to be able to route a certain geographic area to some other PSAP based on a boundary, that will then encompass wireline calls as well. Wireline. So it's important. We want to move forward. I do believe, and as we've kind of communicated, it's always been secondary. But once we wrap up the majority of this first phase, we'll go back and re-engage the GIS authorities for the PSAPs to send us the road centerline data as well as the address point data. And once we have that, then we can reprocess all the wireline records and get latitudes and longitudes associated with them and start doing that based on wireline records as well. What we usually see is when we do add those, it will increase the percentages, not a ton, because not a lot of wireline calls get placed anymore, but it'll probably go up another 5 to 10% once we include wireline as well. That was a long answer to a short question, but want to make sure everyone understands where we are.
All right, anything else for Rich? Yeah, Bill.
Just a brief question. The ones that aren't matching currently, what are the causes? You could just cover the major causes. Just kind of curious.
Yeah, and what we're seeing typically, if we were up and running for the whole state, every PSAP, we'd see probably around a 70 to 80% match rate, and those 20 to 30% are just it's typically wireless technologies. So either they didn't have. It all depends. We're just asking the wireless carriers in that case for the XY. It's not our responsibility. We don't have the technology to actually locate them. But it's usually, older phones. They're within a building with no view to the sky and no other alternate, technologies like Bluetooth or hotspots where we could get the XY. So it's what I've been told, even though we see some percentages we do see some percentages a lot over 80%. What I've been told by the wireless carriers is that this will evolve through time as they increase their technologies to acquire an XY faster. And sometimes that's it too. We wait a very limited period of time, Bill, to get that information. So we wait about a second in our infrastructure before we say, okay, that's too long. We're going to route based on ESN. So a lot of the times that these, if if we have a PSAP here at 82%, that 18% will get sent to the PSAP via ESN, and when they do a rebid, they'll get it in a lot of cases because there's been more time to acquire it. But because we don't want to hold up the call, we have a very short period of time where we'll accept the XY before we route it. But yeah, mostly wireless technologies on the wireless carrier side. I think I've told this before. When I first started doing this about 4 or 5 years ago, the initial fixes we were getting were about 10 to 20%. So in the last 5 years, through work the wireless carriers have done on increasing their technology to be able to acquire an XY, as well as the work we've done with the carriers to adjust their timers to get it to us faster, we've gone up from 10 to 20% to 60 to 80%. So it's gone up exponentially in the last few years, and we expect it to continue to increase while those technologies get better and while some of those older phones kind of get out of the market and people are forced to get newer phones. The fixes will be better too and faster. Hopefully that addressed your question.
That'd be great. That was great. Thank you.
Any more questions for Rich? All right, Tracy, back to you.
All right. Let me see. On the tracker, I don't know if you guys want to look at the cloud migration tab. I know there's a few of those on there. I don't have anything scheduled right now. These dates are determined by the PSAP and Intrado directly, so I don't really have a say in what's taking place, just trying to update what we know and where we are at. So these are the ones that I have been made aware of. And MEC is kind of the same information. I know I have a counterpart, Mel, who is working on Crowley right now. That team will also be working to complete La Junta Rocky Ford and then down in Wilsonburg. I update this as they share information. So if you guys have something different to add, or if anyone on the Lumen side knows, like I said, this is a project outside of my role, but we wanted to have everything in one spot. So that's why the tab is here. And I don't think there's anything else on the tracker unless you guys have some specific questions for me.
Any questions for Tracy? Is your metric report completed running, or do we need to kick that down further?
It is trying to export as we speak.
Okay.
So if we want to do either the service plan, or I did create the SharePoint, whatever you guys want to do next.
Why don't you go to SharePoint?
Okay. See if I can share here. Jennifer, do you have to give me permissions to share?
No, I think you should be good.
Okay. So did the web page come up per chance?
I could see it.
Okay, awesome. So you guys, many of you were at the conference that I think was in Colorado Springs. Cindy was there along with Jeff. And one of the conversations that took place was just kind of finding a centralized point within Lumen where we could share information. I did have a smaller group of PSAPs that kind of helped me with ideas and suggestions on what they would like to see on here. So thank you to those of you that were able to provide some input. I'm still open to more. I've only received 2 separate requests from people wanting access. So if you guys do want access, this is a SharePoint within Lumen. I do have to get your emails approved for security reasons. So if you are interested, send me an email. I can get you access. The one thing I will point out is, unlike SharePoints in the past, you need to access this every 120 days, so roughly every 4 months. If for some reason you do not, I can't continue your access. It does get taken away. So if you don't kind of set a little reminder or something every 4 months to log in the past, I've gotten a little pop-up that says, hey, do you want Jennifer to continue to have access? You know, she hasn't logged in X amount of days. I had the ability to just say yes, just to increase security. I can't do that anymore. The way it was explained to me is, you know, what if Jennifer doesn't work there anymore? I didn't know that. Continue to give access type of thing. It's just to control and make sure that the people accessing this information are still part of the PSAP community for the state of Colorado. So I will get an email that says, you know, Matt's going to lose access September 30th. I can then notify you, you know, kind of tap you on the shoulder and say, please log in. But if you don't, it just is automatically going to take away access. It's not forever. I just would have to reapply through the security team again. So if you do want access, send me an email. It's really easy to get it set up now. This is just a very rough start. I gathered information from my team and internally just to kind of get something going. You can click on the links. You guys should be able to see when you click on it, you know, this is just kind of what we're doing and the intent of the sites and a mission. And right now, the largest project in the state really is this network improvement plan. So I tried to put kind of an update of what we're doing there. Jeff and I have talked about possibly getting together quarterly and you know, putting together some type of different story on here. Don't know what that will be, but that's something that, you know, we'd like to work on, like new news and exciting news to share and whatnot. So that was just kind of the idea. If you go to the document section, that's pretty much where everything is and what I've been talking about before. If you look what we just covered, the weekly tracker, we'll have a historical view on here. So you'll know, obviously not before July 23rd, but we have that somewhere else if you needed to look back farther than that. The GIS file that Entrado provides is also going to be updated on here. Do have an ECATS document. We kind of talked about that a little bit. The one thing that's kind of cool on this, for those of you that have not installed ECATS and are looking forward to it, that other document that I can click on kind of gives you a list of all the reports and the different information that you can get from ECATS. So this is going to show you, you know, all of these sites do have ECATS up and running. There's a few that are in process. Again, there's some that have reached out directly to Entrado and we're working on getting them access to. So really just trying to put all your documents in one place for right now so you don't have to go through email. I did include something that, you know, we all know, but it's hard to find when you're looking for it. So if you can remember this site, Jeff has worked real hard to keep this accurate. So for example, if you're looking on outages and incidents or RFOs, that's going to fall to your service assurance group. You've got myself and Cindy for your day-to-day program management, your engineering group, your customer engagement team, and your sales team. I know, you know, we've all had some changes in our roles and responsibilities, but I believe this is fairly current. I know at least your second level is current. So we'll continue to have this kind of be the one place that you guys can find that information. And again, you know, just kind of this was one that was brought up kind of by the committee. If we have some standalone PSAP escalations, I have one right now that came in. Well, it came in a little while ago, but I just created this folder kind of for Fort Collins, looking for an update as to what happened on a couple circuits. So these would be kind of one-offs, not necessarily need to go on our weekly tracker for a statewide project, but you know, if Stephen had something in Boulder that we needed to document and make sure that we took care of, it's also a great place for me to be able to go and say, hey, did we follow up on this and did it get completed? So those are just some ideas of what, you know, the smaller group talked about as far as having, you know, this site done. If you guys have other things you'd like to see, or stories or links, or, you know, this is made to be a one-stop shop for you. I will share a lot of documents before I can post them. I have to get approval from security. So what's up here now has already been approved, but if you guys do have a one-off that you want to post, I do have a contact now that can help just say, yep, that's fine, or no, that's not. And I think, I mean, that's really it for now. It's a work in progress. Like I said, we're going to trial it for the next few months, and everybody should be able to have access to this. You cannot use any sort of Gmail as your address, but I don't think any of you do. Gmail is not an approved domain for our external users. So as long as you're using your state or your county PSAP email address, you should be fine.
Tracy, our authority uses a .org. Is that going to work, or does it have to be .gov?
I think it will work. I mean, send it to me and I'll see. I got most of them approved. I went through and took the email addresses that you guys have on your page and tried to get them to load those domains. I got a few that were kicked back, and I know it took a little bit to get maps working, but we did get it working. So send it to me and we'll see. It just depends. It takes about 72 hours for them to approve or deny a domain address. So if you want to forward it to me, I'll certainly check.
Cool, I did already.
Okay. Yeah, and it's real quick. If if your domain is accepted, you're going to get a link that just says you've been granted access. Do you want to accept, yes or no? And then you'll be able to see everything on here. Right now, it's a view only. So if we do need something changed, or if you want something added, just send it over to Jeff or I, and we can take care of it for you. And again, if you guys have any other ideas for, the site or what you want to see, let me know, because I was not part of the in-person meeting, but I certainly can, work with you to make sure it's what you guys need to have.
Trace, we got 2 hands up. Matt.
Yeah, just to note, if your email address domain is an alias, you might need to try again with Tracy using the root domain for your email service.
But we tried Matt's 3 or 4 times, but we got it.
Yeah, we had to switch from the alias that's a 911 to the underlying root domain.
Thanks, Matt. Great point. Michael, you had your hand up. Did you have something?
I was going to say the same thing. I had the same issue. So, like, as an example, my email address is at summitcountyco.gov, but my Microsoft tenant account is co.summit.co.us. And because it's a SharePoint, the Microsoft accounts had to match.
Awesome. Thanks for the extra details. Anybody else have questions regarding, or comments or suggestions regarding the SharePoint? All right, hearing nothing. Moving on, jumping around the agenda. Metrics ready yet, Tracy?
Yes, I just have it, so I can try to share again.
Great, thanks.
Pull you guys back up so I can find it. Oops, give me a second here. Share screen. Share this one. Okay, let's open it up here, and then I'll email this to you as well. All right, let me get my sheet out here so I have the tariff numbers correct. First one, as we all know, this is checking our network availability, just the constant pings. We didn't see anything that was out of ordinary in here. It's just testing network performance. We scroll. All right, MOS by PSAP. This is testing our voice quality. And that's the same for the MOS by ECMC route. So anything that is at or above number 4 on the chart is what we're looking for. Didn't have anything that dipped down for the month of July. So I think we're okay with having those numbers met. If we go back, oops. Packet loss by percentage. Do have a ticket in with Carl at our NOC to find out what happened on July 20th, because that did spike up quite a bit. It's not above what's required, but something definitely happened on that day. As you guys know, sometimes it's hard to tell because this is a snapshot in time for those probes. But I did see that when I loaded it this morning, so I've already sent in the request to have it looked at. And then if we scroll down a little bit more, couple little jumps too in our packet loss percentage. Did send this over to have them look at it. This is where we're comparing Denver and Miami. So right after, like between the 6th and the 12th-ish. Again, I do have them looking at this just to see why there's a spike. And I'll share with this team what I hear back.
Tracy, this is Jennifer.
Yes, ma'am.
That day coincides with the degradation of calls that Aurora experienced, and we have opened an investigation into that. So that'll definitely come in handy, whatever you find out, if you could make sure that Tressa and Tim get that to be part of the investigation.
And you said that was in Aurora?
Yep.
Okay. I'll send this to Tressa when we're finished today, and I send it to you guys.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
that. Thank you. Then I don't have to wait for them to get back to me on my ticket.
Thanks.
Sure. And I will send this over as soon as we're done today. All right. What
Any questions? Any more questions or comments for Tracy? Hearing none. Rich, did you have anything more on GIS? We're jumping around this agenda.
I think I covered anything unless there's any other questions.
Okay. Then we're on to number 6B. So I added this to the agenda. I had heard through the grapevine, through some of our communities, that they were concerned that the 911 call boxes that are old school POTS lines in our mountain communities are going to be shut off. And we heard some of that murmur. So I reached out to our folks over at Lumen CenturyLink to get an idea of what their current position is with voice services. And Jeff sent me a summary of a explanation. So I wanted to add it to the agenda so everybody could hear what the position for the voice services, old school POTS lines, because many of us use them, are integrated within our PSAP business operations, 911 call boxes. We even use some of the copper for radio infrastructure on our VHF system. So all of these are subject to support from Lumen. So Jeff, if I want to kick it over to you for B, and then we'll go to C on number 6.
Certainly. Thank you, Steve. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, gotcha.
So specific on the voice services, as some of you may or may not have heard, beginning of July, Lumen had changed, its strategy as far as its portfolio is concerned, and traditional voice services was part of that strategy change. And to answer the question specifically, as far as voice services working in Colorado, if there is any type of regulatory, contractual obligation that Lumen has, it will continue to maintain those services. So when we talk about voice services specifically, we're looking at your traditional phone lines, POTS. Lumen will no longer be proactively marketing or selling those, but we will be maintaining those as far as service is concerned. Also includes the VoIP service, cloud-based communications, unified communications and collaboration, so UC&C as it's referred to, contact center solutions, toll-free services, and specialized emergency services like NextGen 911. So I'll answer any questions specifically towards that.
Kimberly.
I didn't quite understand the end there. NextGen 911, you were just going kind of fast. So how does this pertain to NextGen 911?
That's a good question and a good segue. So what I will do is, Lumen has prepared or asked that we share a brief statement in place of the presentation that we have been invited to that was scheduled.
Hey,
yes.
Jeff,
Okay.
I don't mean to interrupt you. That's an awesome question and a great segue. I don't want to lose traction on the first one.
Sure.
Are there any questions about voice services that Jeff can answer?
So sorry.
Sorry, Kimberly, did you have something? Good.
I did. So I didn't mean to segue into that. It was just a statement Jeff, at the very end there that I was confused with. So as it pertains to CAMA, we're in the same boat. We have several emergency call boxes that are landline call boxes supported by CenturyLink. So I just want to make sure on the record I understand. You're not going to sell it, but you're going to continue to maintain and support current infrastructure. So that would be these 1FB circuits, 1FB, or just your analog phone
Yes.
lines.
Exactly. Okay. No, nothing is going to change on that. We will continue to maintain those services. Yes.
Okay. And respond text out. So if we have a problem, we have residential area, they have a problem, and all they have is CenturyLink, old school landlines. You guys are still going to maintain support. You're just not adding additional services or selling it.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for just making me feel a little bit better.
No, I understand. So yes, not a problem.
Jennifer.
Thanks, Steve. Should Lumen take a different position in the future, as in they decide they want out of that and no longer want to provide those services, how much time and or advance notice would Lumen commit to providing in that sense, or in that situation?
That's a great question, and I'm not sure as far as the timeline that would be needed for that, or what we would send out. There would be more than enough notification, but I don't have a specific time on that. We can try and find out if that happens.
Yeah, I'm just concerned. I know that, the landscape is changing for Lumen, and I know that a lot of our centers, as you said, rely on CenturyLink for admin lines and other products. And so I was just curious to know what kind of notice they would get if that was going to change in the future.
Right. No, I'll see what I can find out if there is an actual timeline for that as far as what the notification would be. But in regards to that, since the notification has come out that we're no longer proactively and marketing those services, it might be a good time to look at what you currently have today and see what alternatives there are to be able to replace those current services. So it's not put in a position to where you're like, oh, we've got 6 months to do this and they're scrambling. So it'd be a good opportunity to be able to look at as the opportunity to migrate sooner than later.
Thank you.
Is that Dini?
Thank you. I do have a question about that. We have a call box in our Pike National Forest that it currently is through a third party who contracts with CenturyLink. So they're like YMACTEL is the company. So we purchase it through them, but they purchase the line through CenturyLink. So will they be exempt from that? Is there any talk about that? Or do I have to negotiate with YMACTEL to get them to hand over that line that we currently use?
So do you think you're talking about like a reseller situation?
Yeah, it's a POTS line for a call box.
I'll have to find out for sure. I don't have an answer on that. So let me see if I can get an answer as far as how Lumen is handling the interaction with the resellers.
Thank you.
I'm going to add real quickly to that because we have a very similar situation. I've got about 10 or 11 lines that are through a reseller, and we were notified by that reseller of the likelihood of termination at some point because of the FCC's report and order. They took it upon themselves to try to create some options for us for replacement. So I think, Jeff, that getting that answer on the resellers is probably important because we're going to get different messages from and information from our resellers. If we could get it from Lumen, that'd be awesome.
Okay, let me see what I can find out.
Cool. Jennifer. Or you still have your hand up from before?
It's still up from before, sorry.
Did that cover your question too? Looks like it. Yep. All right, Chris, Stewart.
I hope you can hear me. I'm driving. As far as what Jeff just said, we were told in Delta County that we had to get rid of all of our POTS lines because Lumen would no longer be supporting them and go to an internet-based like VoIP service for all of our landline dispatch our elevator support lines for panic alarms, etc. There is a timeline on them, and if we didn't move to a new service, they would be raising the prices so exorbitant that forces off of those services. So did something change on that, or did we get told wrong information?
I'm going to say you were probably given wrong information. The directive that I've given all the information is that we will support them going forward if we are contractually or regulatorily obligated to that. So I'm curious. I can get with you later, Chris, to find out as far as the specifics on that. But that, are you saying that was a Lumen employee that told you that?
Affected by Lumen, asked to, like, I think by the end of the year that we would have to be off those services, sign up with new services. So
It could be that those services may not be in a contract. So, I mean, we're going to have individual situations that may be a little different. But if they're under the Delta County account, let's work on that and see if there's something we can come up with that can help you with some type of migration. Because like I said before, it's if you have a current contract or if it's within the tariff or regulatory obligated, we'll maintain it. We will not just turn off the service. If something does fall out of contract, that would be a different scenario that we would have to look at as far as going forward. So let's find some time, Chris, and see if maybe we can get through that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Chris. Matt.
Thank you. Also, just a reminder, if you're thinking about getting ahead of this and migrating to SIP for your admin telephone services, keep in mind the cost of upgrading your PSAP CHE to be able to take that SIP. In some cases, you might think that it should already be capable, and you'll find out that it's not. So in our case, we're looking at 50 grand per site just to upgrade the CHE to be able to take SIP admin line calls. So we're waiting and hoping the prices don't become crazy. And I think we're still under contract, Jeff. So in our case, something for folks to think about is your CHE truly capable of taking SIP direct for your admin lines? And if not, what's it going to cost?
Thanks, Matt. Great point. Other questions for Jeff? Jody.
Yeah, so I guess I'm just curious. All of our POTS lines that we have running into our 911 center are through the city of Gunnison. And I know the city of Gunnison took out a bunch of their own POTS lines, but all of those lines are listed as condition for routing. So I just want to clarify that Lumen is aware of which lines are represented as condition for routing, just in the event that they are perhaps not under a specific contract, but the condition for routing would fall under the tariff, correct?
Correct. That's my understanding as well. So those would be covered.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah, how do they track? How are you tracking that? Because we've got a similar situation in Boulder County where our condition for routing up in the northwestern part of the goes to the local fire station's 10-digit. Are you tracking? Is Lumen tracking those based on what we put in annually for the condition for routing?
I'll have to get with Cindy Rowland, who's the technical project manager that handles that, or at least part of that team. Excuse me. Let me see what I can find out as far as the tracking is concerned on that. I don't know. I don't have an answer on that, but I'll find out.
Because in theory, they're just a customer with voice services also that could get shut off.
Right. No, and in my mind, some type of designator would be beneficial in this case, but let me see what I can find out.
Thank you. Kimberly.
That's what I think we need some clarification on, Jeff, because your answer to Jody's question is that that's part of the tariff. But to Steve's point, that is on the OSP side of the business. And so those are just phone numbers that are being either purchased by a fire department or purchased by a 911 authority or a PSAT to support those services. And then they've been designated as condition for routing and entered into your plan. But I'm not sure how those lines would be protected or part of a tariff.
No, that's a good point, Kimberly. And like I said, I'll see what I can find out as far as how those are going to be addressed and tracked.
More questions for Jeff on this topic? All right, so I've got 3 follow-up items. Correct me if I'm wrong, folks. We've got Jeff's going to follow up on what we just talked about with tracking for condition 4 routing 10-digit numbers. Follow up on how resellers are the messaging and how they're handling the notifications or anything coming from Lumen. And then also, probably most importantly, does Lumen have a documented timeline where they will notify the customer, many of us being customers within our business operations of our 911 centers, that certain lines are going to be disconnected or terminated? Did I miss any other follow-ups regarding this topic? All right, great. Jeff, thanks for following up on those things with us as soon as possible so we can make plans and start planning for the future. I'll back to you, Jeff, on CenturyLink's position with NGCS in the presentation.
Certainly, thank you. So with that in mind, the statement that I've been asked to read is that Lumen is aligning its portfolio and go-to-market focus around modern digital network services that better supports customers' evolving technology and connectivity needs. Next-Gen 911 core services is included in that broader portfolio review. Excuse me. However, the review does not change the existing ESInet or 911 services Lumen currently provides in Colorado in accordance with existing contractual and tariff arrangements. For that reason, Lumen will not be presenting on Next-Gen 911 core services to the ESInet user group. To be clear, there's no immediate change to the ESInet and Next-Gen 911 services Lumen provides in Colorado today, and no action is required to continue receiving services as contracted. Lumen will continue supporting existing services in accordance with applicable contractual and regulatory requirements. Lumen recognizes that Next-Gen 911 is a public safety service requiring continuity, reliability, careful planning, and customer-specific coordination. Lumen will work closely with the ESInet user group, the 911 task force, and the PSAP community to provide communication, coordination, and planning needed to support service continuity and address any future changes. We understand the importance of these services and remain committed to communicating clearly, responsibly, and directly about any matter that could affect public safety service continuity. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Daryl.
Can we get a copy of the written statement?
Yes, I had already sent that over to Steve, so Steve, you're more than welcome to just share that.
Thank you.
Will do. I'll get it to Jennifer for memorialization in the notes. Additional questions regarding the statement and the position of Lumen? Jackie.
I'm really trying to wrap my head around that. And I'm finding it difficult. I don't know if there's any plainer language we could use or something.
As far as a summary of the statement itself?
Yes.
I don't want to stray from what we have specifically on this, but well, this is what I was approved to actually be able to communicate. Let me see if I can get a better summary put together that I can actually share on that.
Thank you.
Because I understand your point, Jackie. So yeah, let me get something that I can actually share as far as the summary is concerned.
Thank you.
And I will also forward it out to the group.
Thank you.
So people can read it. It's a lot to digest. and I understand that it might generate a lot of questions even after. So Kimberly, what you got?
I think the same. Jackie said it very well. I'm trying to wrap my head around that statement and what it means. So any sort of plain language, open dialogue that we can have so we truly understand and can plan for the impacts to 911 would be greatly appreciated.
Okay. Let me see what I can get put together and send that out.
Additional questions, comments? All right, hearing none, we'll forward that out as soon as possible. The written statement, I'll try to do that before we finish up the agenda. And the next agenda item is for me. It's a nice segue into our strategic plan update. So I want to thank Jennifer for working with multiple NGCS providers to schedule presentations over the next 6 weeks. If you have not received an invitation from Jennifer, you're welcome to reach out and we'll get you on the list so you can attend. It is non-vendor, it's not for vendors, it's for EUG, PSAP, and authority members only. And we've got lots on the calendar. It's going to be a big time commitment. They'll all be recorded. So if you don't have time to watch it live, you're welcome to go back to it, and Jennifer will provide access to those recorded versions. Anything you want to add, Jennifer, since you were diligently putting the schedule together?
Sure, no problem. So they will be recorded, but they're not going to be put on the public YouTube. So I'm going to maintain a document with all of the links to the recordings, and I will send that out to the non-vendor ESInet email group. So if you're not getting those, and if you haven't, like Steve said, if you haven't gotten an invite and you want to watch them, just send me your email and I will put you on the list. And I'll just maintain that document with a running list of the links to the recordings as they take place. So when you get that document, just kind of bookmark it somewhere in your own workflow because it won't be out on a public website anywhere.
Thanks, Jennifer. Any other questions for me regarding the strategic planning? I did just send out the statement from Lumen. Thanks, Jennifer, for speaking. Gave me a chance to get that out to everybody. And hearing nothing else, number 8 is public comment. Jennifer?
Yeah, this is not really public comment, but I don't see a open forum on the agenda. So I just want to let everybody know, and I know I've said this before, but we are getting ready to transition the PUC websites to the new versions coming up here shortly. And the reason that we're making those changes is to comply with law requiring accessibility for our websites. One of the main changes that is going to affect this group is that we can no longer link to folders with a whole bunch of resources. And so the SharePoint resource that Lumen's putting together is actually really timely to keep all of that the way that you're used to. When the new websites go live, I will send them out in one email to everybody so that you can bookmark the new websites. And just know that everything that you have access to now, we've tried to preserve, except again for those folders that are links. And so for the agendas and the minutes for the ESInet users group and the task force, it's going to look a little different and there won't be open access to all the past ones like there has been. But of course, if you want any kind of access or if you want any of those past ones, I can always send them to you. We just can't, because of accessibility reasons, we can't link to those folders anymore. So I know it'll be an adjustment as you get used to where everything is in the new websites. There will be more messaging about it when they come out, but I just wanted to give everybody a heads up.
Thanks, Jennifer. Tim.
Thanks, Steve. This isn't necessarily public comment, but I wanted to provide a quick update on the latest network improvement plan. So the ALJ did recently approve the settlement that was filed. So that starts a trigger of some events. We'll be filing the tariff in the next couple of weeks. That will have not only the network improvement plan charges, but then also that were approved as part of the network improvement plan proceeding. And then they will have the recurring charges for the SD-WAN, the DeGero, and the Starlink as well. So that should be coming towards the end of the month. We had agreed on about the 21st in the settlement, and then there were some triggers about dates after the order is issued. We'll file ahead of what the actual date, the required date would be, which I think is actually into September. So we'll file that sooner just so that language is out there and available for folks. I have circulated this language previously, so there hasn't been any real changes to any of that language that folks have seen previously. But that's coming. And then as part of the order, there's a couple of things that we need to work on around sign-off process and also a potential draft schedule for implementation beginning next year. The improvement plan charges, as you'll see when the tariffs filed, they won't be, they'll go into effect later this year, by the end of the year, but the charges won't actually be assessed until March for the network improvement plan. And then the recurring charges for the 3 services, those would be charged upon turn up of the service when that occurs in 27, 28 timeframe. That's what I have on that. Any questions I'll take.
Daryl?
Just a clarification that we are still in the exceptions period. So right now it's a recommended decision that the ALJ issued. If no exceptions are filed by the 24th of this month, then it becomes the official decision of the commission. And then there's still a triple R period after that, that somebody can file a petition for the commission to reconsider the decision by the 14th of September. So on the 24th of this month, it will become the official decision of the commission, but it's not official yet. Yeah, thanks for that clarification, Daryl. And so that's kind of what we were waiting for, is that 20-day period to run. So we would just we'll file understanding there's still triple R, but I figure if there's no exceptions, probably not going to be a triple R. Yeah, well, once the exceptions are done, it is technically the official decision of the commission. So it stands unless somebody files triple R.
Jennifer?
Thanks. Following up on that, because the actual tariff changes as far as the concurrent session charges go were filed under confidentiality, I cannot put out any information about what that is until CenturyLink files the actual tariff amendments. So for those of you who are asking me what the concurrent session charges will be next year, I can't put anything out like that until CenturyLink files an open tariff amendment. But I wanted to remind everybody that the surcharge proceeding to set the surcharge and threshold amounts for next year has been opened. And the statewide surcharge has been set according to taking into consideration what this proceeding had proposed. I also want to remind everybody that as of March next year in 2027, the current improvement amount that we've been operating under the last 2 years will drop off, and then the next improvement amount will come on. So hopefully that's enough information for you to plan your budgeting for next year should you need to be doing that right now, and also keeping in mind that your concurrent session charges are reimbursed by that state 911 surcharge coming back to you. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to help.
Great, thanks, Jennifer. Any more questions on this topic? All right, going back to open forum or public comment, either or. Hearing none, we will move to adjournment at 11:02. Give you guys a little bit of time back. Thank you all. If more questions come up regarding the statement that I sent out, you can direct those towards Jeff Winkleman. Anybody else have anything for the good of the order? Kathy, I saw you come off mute. Did you have something?
No, accidental. Sorry.
It's all good. All right, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you next month.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everyone. Take care.
Have a good day.